Okay. Hello and welcome. Thank you for being here. I am Dr. Alexis Edwards. I am a retired doctor of Chinese medicine, and I am the channel of the expansion principle energy healing modality, and I'm a trance channel of Simon. So Simon is a trans-dimensional being, meaning that there's a lot of different words that we've used, but essentially it's that he doesn't inhabit just one space and time. So he has an awareness of being all of the things. And so we're currently physical. And so it's a lot harder for us to remember all of our different iterations, all of our different experiences. And when we do, we certainly have an awareness that we're in this one right now, where he's a lot more fluid with that. There's a lot more fluidity with that, and that's part of why he can access the information. I feel like we need to move this because this is right in front of us.
It does feel like that. I agree. You want to put it more over on this side?
Yeah, and then we'll put it sideways. That way you guys can see me a little bit better.
It feels like we're kind of getting the crowd kind of out there.
Yeah. Okay. That works?
Yeah, and I think that's kind of more
how
I
like that better.
Now, it's going to put, if Susie sits here, but I don't know if she'll care.
If she will care. We'll just
put her there.
Okay, so that's that
Simon.
part, and this is Andy Black. Andy is my bestie and I don't know, metaphysical extraordinaire, and she's a facilitator.
Take it.
So because I trance channel, so do you all know what trance channeling is? One? No? So trance channeling. So the channeling is a word that a lot of people use for a lot of different things. And so if you get an inspiration that you have an awareness isn't you, people will say, oh, I channeled, which could be entirely correct. For me, channeling has to do with information coming through the body, not around it, not being aware of it on the outside. It's actually coming through your nervous system. It's coming through your system, which is a little bit different. A lot of times when we're noticing extrasensory things, it's outside of us. Our system is perceiving it, we're translating it, we're expressing it. We can be inspired by that. We can notice things. This is how like clairvoyance and all the different clairs and psychic abilities generally work, is through a highly attuned ability to tune into what's around us, right? And channeling is information coming through for me. Trance channeling means that I go into essentially a meditative state, and Simon hangs out and talks to you. He uses my vocal cords to speak to you. He is also using like my central processing, like all my stuff, my brain is being used to essentially what's happening is I'm perceiving his energetics and it's translating into words, right? So he'll speak a little bit different than me, or a lot different, right?
A lot different.
A lot different.
I agree with Tina, yeah.
So I've been working with him in this lifetime 9 years, and we started working with primarily energy. So I worked as an acupuncturist, and in my acupuncture practice when I first started working with him, we were using the energy, the expansion principle, didn't have a name at the time, to help people heal, to help
Yes, way better.
my brain's getting distracted.
That's okay. Expansion principle.
Yes. So what I started noticing was that people they were coming in for different symptoms or different, things that you want help from an acupuncturist for, and they were getting better more quickly. So it was a lot of fun to experience that. Over time, it came through that it had a name. Over time, it came through that we would attune practitioners. So similar to Reiki, a little bit different. So Reiki is universal life force, as we know, and it's connected with this dimensional reality and this experience. Expansion principle doesn't come from this dimensional reality, okay? And so we all see the state of the world, and there are a lot of energetics that are coming in to help us transform and transmute things, which is really helpful and beneficial to everyone. And that's part of what the expansion principle does. About 4 years ago, I wrote a book, and in writing the book, I had been communicating with Simon, but it was all more internal. 4 years ago, I started writing this book, and my publisher says, well, can't you just have him talk? Actually, probably. I don't know. Let's see. So I turned on the audio recorder, and I'm like, okay, this is what I'm writing about. What do you have to say about it? And his energy came through, and we started talking. So at that point, I had already been channeling because I channeled with the energy, right? And we had been doing attunements and all these sorts of things. And anytime you're working with non-physical beings, and honestly, even when you're working with, your clairs and your extrasensory perception, your nervous system has to upgrade to be able to work with that, right? And so that's what was happening over years for me. And so at that point, when I started doing the trance channeling, my system was ready. And over time, it's gotten a lot clearer and clearer. So if we go back and see the videos, I actually had somebody, we did a year ahead reading in January or whenever it was. And someone was watching it and hadn't had an experience with Simon since the very beginning. So it'd been almost like 3.5 years, I think. She's like, I was kind of nervous because he was so blunt and so like just severe the first time. She's like, I wasn't really sure. And it was so neat because I hadn't thought about it in so long, and just how, because it was like clunkier almost. And the clunkiness meant that it had to be really blunt. There wasn't this whole fluff language where when we speak to each other, we're speaking and using words to give our intent as well, right? We're not just saying, sit down now. We say, oh, would you like to have a seat? We have some chairs ready for you, right? That's a lot different than sit down, where he was in the beginning. It was like, sit down. Listen. You're asking me a question. Listen, right? And so now it's a lot different, and there's a lot more personality. Simon has incarnated as a human being. We both have together. In my book, which Janny has, I talk about the relationship and I talk about what that's like. And we've worked together in all our lifetimes, whether we incarnate together or one isn't and one is. So that's really fascinating. And so that's what we do now, is we still have the energy healing, and we still train practitioners, and I teach courses and all the things. And then we also do these where often it's very beneficial to hear messages and hear responses that are different than from a human being's perspective. And so the things that he shares are super beautiful and incredible. And what's happening here today is that it's not just going to be just words that are spoken to you. Like, there's an energetic shift that's happening too, if you're open to it. And by being here, the assumption is that you are somewhat open to it, right? What we'll do is we'll go ahead and have each person have a turn, and you can ask a specific question if you have one, or you can ask general if you'd like a general.
Yep. I think that's it.
If we don't have a question,
just a general. Yeah, like a general message. Yep.
And sometimes you may have, like when he gives you your message, if it's a general message, sometimes you may have a question that comes off of what he's telling you as well. And then we can have a little bit of a dialogue, because we have enough people here today. We have plenty of time to go over things if you want to. And I'll help facilitate that. While she's channeling Simon, I can help say who's going, who wants to go next, or what kind of questions, anything that might. I take a few notes down while each person's message is going, so that at the end we can review any questions anybody has. So that's what you'll see me guys scribbling in here.
Is this the same Simon? I can't remember that he actually used to transform through somebody else through channeling too. It's been years ago. I would say over 20-some years ago.
So I've had not very many people, but on occasion people will say, and I've looked and I have not found anything of that name. I found other names and other energies. But
yeah, it is. Makes you wonder, huh?
Years ago, I mean, when I was in early 20s, so yeah.
Might be.
There's a few. So if you know about channeling, you know about Abraham, of course. And what are some of the other ones? Bashir. Daryl Anka.
The gal with the short hair. I can't think of her name.
Yeah, she does the collective.
Yeah,
I forget what their name is.
Yeah.
But I've looked because I had somebody. Only one other. Was it one or two? I think it was one. Like 5 years ago, mentioned. I'm like, I don't think so. Okay. But I've looked and I haven't found it. Yeah.
That's fluid,
but it could be.
So maybe you'll feel it.
That's all we got.
Yeah, unless there's questions.
Do we have any questions?
I have one question.
Yeah.
Do people record, or do you prefer not to?
You can totally record. We actually do record. Thanks for bringing that up. We do record, and it does go on YouTube. The only people that you can see are the two of us. We're generally using first names. So one of the things I didn't talk about that's super important is this concept of sovereignty. And so sovereignty means that we are whole unto ourselves, and we are also the owner of ourselves. So this is a really, really like critical part, and one of the most pivotal rules of the, I don't know, the multiverse,
Yeah,
right?
the multiverse. Yeah, I like that.
And a lot of our work, Simon and I's work, is about, gosh, all of the lovely distractions that we have.
I know. Do you want me to say something?
No, it's all good.
I will while we're talking.
What am I saying? Oh yes, like a lot of our work is around the restoration of sovereignty, and so you can think about what sovereignty violations would be. Like, you know, the idea is that we all can move forward in ourselves, right? Does that make sense?
No.
That another person's will is not being pressed upon us.
Okay.
That's basically it. Yeah, that you operate on your own and we're not. Yeah, so human beings are, I won't say human beings individually, I'll say
Okay.
are, as a whole, humanity has continually committed very many sovereign violations and do so on the regular. And so that's part of why there are so many different beings and so many different intelligences that are coming to Earth to help change that, because a lot of times when people talk about this sort of thing, they center humans as we're so important. It's not so much that humans are important, it's that the sanctity of sovereignty is so important. So if there's any reality in which sovereignty is being violated, especially to the degree in which it is on Earth, that needs to be assisted to be rectified. Does that make sense? Because that impacts everything. It impacts consciousness as a whole. Okay?
And you're talking about crimes against somebody's self, like
Yeah.
person-to-person crime.
Person to person, but also like I could do a whole 6 weeks class on sovereignty. I'm also talking about the thoughts too, like person to person. But think about like when you think ill intent about somebody,
Right.
you know, and like there's just so much. We could really talk about that. But the person to person stuff's like the obvious.
What the media does.
Yeah.
You can see.
More than
Well,
just
yeah.
physical, it's in your mind also.
There's so much, and really one of the things that we invite everyone to do is kind of on your own think about what does that mean, like how am I honoring a person's sovereignty, and really that part, not so much worrying about am I violating or not, but how am I honoring it, you know. That's really important. And so the reason why we bring that part up is because when he speaks, he really honors that, and there's not a filter in terms of anything other than protecting your privacy and like honoring and respecting the individual, which is something that you see sometimes with channels, but not always. And there's not going to be a calling out of something that's not correct to be speaking
like
about in front of a
sees
group.
me being a bad girl, he's not gonna say, hey, you're a bad girl.
Oh, he probably will, but
Oh.
He wouldn't word it quite like that, though. That's
But
the
he
thing.
wouldn't.
Yeah.
he would probably tell you, is that what you want to be doing? Is that actually what you
Right.
want
Oh,
to
I
be doing?
see.
He'd say something like that.
He'd dig in.
But in terms of the details, so like we all have life and we all have stuff and we all have
Right.
trauma and we all have things, and laying it all in front of a group of strangers and to put on the internet is unlikely to be the way that he would word it where other people would know. So he'll say things to you that you'll know. But you wouldn't. So that part's important. So I'm glad you asked that, is that it is recorded, and there's a privacy protection that is naturally with the way things are brought up. Yeah.
Do you talk to him all the time, just in your head, like da 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 da? Oh, da 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 da.
In a way.
You know? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
In a way. It's a sensation of his presence, I guess.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah. I think that's the best way to put it.
So did you mean that you would like to record like maybe your own message so you have it on your own phone though?
I
Because you
did, but
can,
now that
you
I
totally
know,
can.
now that I know that it's being recorded, I won't bother.
Okay,
Okay.
cool. I was going to say, because feel free if you want to do that.
I
Just,
go back
yeah.
to YouTube all the time and watch
Yeah.
the ones that me, my husband, or my kids, and just rewatch to
Yeah.
get it all back. So yeah, I love the fact that you guys have it on.
Yeah.
Can you hear okay without a microphone on people?
Mhm. Yeah.
I haven't gone back to we get so busy doing stuff, I forget to
Right.
go back
I
sometimes.
always go
with
back
it.
to get my star name because it's a sound, and I still
Yeah,
can't
that's-
get it.
It is a sound. Yeah, it's a
Oh,
vibrational
yeah.
sound. It's
Yeah.
very interesting.
Wish we didn't hook up mics today, but
What?
that's okay. All right.
Simon told me that I was an actual star, and my name was like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh, that's actually really close. I'm impressed. That was pretty good.
Orion, I don't know. No,
I'm impressed, Tina. That was really good. I remember that session. It was
Yeah.
an amazing session.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really good. I remember the look on your face that you were just like, that was the beginning of your whole journey.
Yeah.
Wow, it
Look
was
at me
really
now.
big.
Is it
Look
really?
at you
Yeah.
now.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
Yeah. It's very
You've
cool.
watched, so yeah.
Yeah, it's very
Pretty
cool.
awesome.
I didn't see the star, but I've been around since.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I got the tattoo.
What's that do?
The star. The giant.
The star, yeah.
Oh gosh, and speaking of tattoos, the
Oh.
very first, remember the very first one we did?
The very first one? Oh yeah, with the unicorn tattoo. Yeah, with
So
that. That
he,
was interesting,
the
too.
very
Oh,
first
yeah.
event,
That was
thank
really
you for
cool.
sharing that with us, but that reminded me
Yes,
of,
the unicorn.
yeah, so the very first channeling event that we had here, he was giving messages, and there was this moment when he shared about a unicorn with this woman. He was getting so excited and really animating me, and I'm over here because I'm aware of him speaking, and so it's kind of like I'm sitting on the couch watching, and I'm like, seriously, like,
It sounded like rainbows
like,
and unicorns.
seriously?
And, yeah, were you there, Sherry? I think you were, right? That first one, I can't remember
I
if you
don't
were.
think,
I wasn't.
yeah.
So I'm sitting here writing notes going, this sounds so funny. I'm like, but I'm writing the notes, I'm going with it.
And I was just like, are we, and he kept going on. And he was like, and the unicorn horn and the this, and like giving these specifics about this rainbow and getting very excited about
And
this.
I'm thinking maybe it's her daughter, a child.
And she's
or- I
looking
don't
down so
know.
she doesn't see. But at the end, we find out the one, and it was winter time. The woman has a giant rainbow unicorn on her arm.
Oh,
The whole, like
wow.
Tina's like the whole thing, rainbow unicorn.
Yeah.
And she had shown everyone during when he said it, but neither one of us knew. My eyes are closed. She's looking
I'm down writing notes.
And so at the end, she shared it, and it is recorded, which is really cool because it was a neat revelation of like, I'd never met the woman before.
Yeah.
She was totally covered. There was no, and here I'm thinking like, really, we're gonna like, and so sometimes there's things that I don't want to say, and if I'm like resistant, he'll say, so Alexis doesn't like this, but this is what we're gonna talk about. Yeah, I don't like being very specific. It makes me nervous because you're either right or you're not. Things like that. And he's just like, well, this is what it is. So we're going to speak
We're
it.
gonna
So
do it
thanks.
anyway.
Yeah, so that's that. And yeah, let's go ahead and get going.
Just
Yeah.
realized that I may need to come forward. Okay.
Oh,
I'm not gonna have enough room. I was gonna try to squeeze it in, but it was not enough room.
Oh,
Okay.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay.
Okay, let me just make my note again here. Okay, so it was water and March, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so to begin with, she's gonna go under. And we're gonna have a little bit of a dialogue just with Simon and I to begin with and just kind of get into the feel of everything. Okay.
Yes, we may be beginning.
Welcome, Simon. Today we are gathered with a few people at Janny Lou's, and we would love to have some time to talk with you today. So we'd like to start out with talking a little bit about water. I've been doing some research concerning water and its vibrational properties, and Alexis and I have been kind of exploring this topic. So would you talk to us about the importance of water and the consciousness of water?
Yes, it is a multi-question that you are asking here,
It
but
is,
what we
yeah.
will be beginning with speaking about is that it's an important time in which human beings are coming to an awareness that all things are conscious, and they are the water makes quite a lot of energetic sense when you think about it, that it is one of the first things that they are exploring. It began with trees in a great way. More and more people are working with trees and the fact that they are in fact conscious. Quite interestingly, Alexis viewed something this morning in having to do with communicating with trees, and many things having to do with this, whether you're communicating with trees or water, because that's really what we are talking about, is coming into this awareness that if something is conscious, you can communicate with it. Up until this point, human beings have operated under this idea that they are the only things that are conscious, and they can have what we were discussing earlier, what Alexis was speaking about the sovereignty aspect. Human beings have this idea that they're at the top of the hierarchy in terms of being able to violate everything's sovereignty, including that of one another, because whoever's at the top is able to do that, and which is quite a comical thing, because that isn't at all the way that anything works at all. But what we were speaking about specifically is coming into relationship and coming into communication with consciousness, yes? And as the vibrational frequencies are changing on Earth and are changing along the multiversal understandings, that is an important aspect as well. Human beings think that it is just Earth that is evolving, but it isn't. Everything is always expanding, which is what we speak about quite often, yes? The aspect of understanding that specifically, just a moment, Alexis is having a moment, just a moment.
Okay.
Yes, what we would like to be speaking about is that it is a multiversal understanding, it's a multiversal expansion. Everything is always expanding. Consciousness is expanding. It isn't just Earth evolving, it isn't just Earth ascending, which is quite a long conversation in and of itself, yes? What we're talking about with that as well is having to do with specific vibratory signatures, yes? And as the vibratory signatures on the planet as a whole are increasing, and the energetics that each individual and each individual consciousness on the planet are able to access, as that increases, what is occurring is that there is the wherewithal within an individual human being to have the aha moment of being able to see, oh yes, I am not the only consciousness. Oh yes, my dog has consciousness. Oh yes, this tree has consciousness. And in particular, with the research that is being done on water, oh yes, it isn't that we can program water, it is that it is also conscious, meaning that it has the capacity for communication, yes?
Yeah.
This is the most primary importance. This is also an aspect of the way that individuals communicate with one another. There's quite a lot to be said around water as a conductivity, yes? And the reason why human beings are primarily water, you could almost say that they are water beings, yes? This has to do also with the understanding that water is also emotions. There's quite a lot of similarities, and human beings also are emotional beings, which is a part of why in quite a beginning way, consciousnesses would want to incarnate as human beings, because there's a capacity to have an experience that is quite different because of the way that the mechanism is formulated. And what we're meaning by that is the chemical mechanisms, the specific hormonal exchanges, and all of the sorts of things that make up a human being, the way that the different things flow through a person, yes, and all of the makeup of a human being, also having to do with their emotional makeup. All these things are related to one another, yes, and how this creates a very specific experience that is being had, that is in many ways quite different, yes.
Like it. Can you talk to us about, they talked about DNA teleportation in between from the water, having a DNA strand put in one tube, for example, with water, a water that doesn't have a DNA strand in it is empty, and they sit next to each other for a period of time, and they're seeing where the DNA will teleport and duplicate into this other tube of water. So can you talk to us a little bit about that? Because there's a lot of controversy about it.
Yes, there's many reasons. The controversy keeps individuals from being able to have an evolution of consciousness if we think about it.
Yeah.
When you're able to open up to other ways of experiencing things. Once you have an awareness that something is possible, it opens up that it quite quickly is possible, yes?
Right.
But what is quite beautiful about human beings is when, and this also speaks to the answer to your question, is when one human being is able to see that they have the capacity to do a thing, then other human beings are now able to do that and have the capacity. This is exactly what we're speaking about when you're speaking about the DNA transference and the DNA teleportation. Human beings, you've seen this. When one person can do something and you see it, oh, I can do it now. It is the energetics of possibility are changing. Yes, the frequency access is now available to that. Yes. What also must be said is that DNA is merely organized information. Yes, it is merely organized information that is passing specific data coding, that is holding a specific story, if you will, of a very simplistic way of explaining it. Yes. And you're wanting to pass information, yes? And you must also recognize what we're speaking about is that water is sovereign as well, yes?
Yeah.
And if water is sovereign, and it is also consciousness, it also has an awareness. This is why it is, there's so many things that human beings know, and they don't recognize that they know the thing. And they speak on the thing, and they speak on the thing, and they speak on the thing. And then when they discover it, they become quite shocked that they didn't discover it, even though they've known it all along. And this is an aspect of when people speak on the drop of water, and also the whole ocean, yes?
Yes.
There's an awareness of the fluidity of consciousness within the water. That one drop, this is why it's so fascinating that the individuals at this time, of course they are coming into this awareness with water, yes? Of course they are able to see what it is like to have this expansion of consciousness, to be able to connect with the way that water experiences itself, because in many ways human beings are moving into being much more like water, which again goes back to what we were saying just a moment ago, that you are primarily water in your physicality, yes? And because you're primarily water in your physicality, that also means what you're evolving into, just a moment, Alexis finds this quite interesting. What you're moving into is this awareness that you are yourself individually, your individuated consciousness, and you are also a group consciousness, meaning you are all of consciousness, and the fluidity of being able to do be both things at once, yes, is create a high level of synchronistic and synergistic happenings, and the way that human beings are evolving, and this will be happening quite quickly. This will be happening quite quickly. It will not take millennia for this to be happening. It will be one of the fastest evolutionary, spiritual, energetic, and physical processes that occur in all of humanity. Yes, it will happen quite quickly. Of understanding, are you understanding what we're meaning by becoming like water? In that being able to know that you are an individual and also feel the collective quite clearly. Yes, and this will not just be one or two people feeling this, all people. And when you do that, many things happen. There's a very natural reactivation of sovereignty. There's a very natural putting down of arms in many ways, quite literally. We do not mean this just figuratively, because when you know that you are the other, and the relationship changes when you, there's so many things that can be spoken about here, but what we would also like to be saying in closing with this is that it's quite important to being allowing of yourself to be like water, yes? Allowing yourself this understanding of oh, just a minute, we would like to be speaking about something else as well. What is quite important is to be answering your original questioning, which is having to do with the transference, yes? And what this is that the other water in the other vial is having communication with the original vial, with the DNA. And they would say, would you like to have some of this? Oh, yes, I would like to have some of this, thank you. And that is very much what is happening. So it is quite natural. It is part of their communication. Oh, look, I have this thing. Think about when you have something lovely, yes? And you say, oh, my friend, would you like this as well?
Yeah.
Yes, it is quite like that.
May I ask one more question before we conclude the water
Yes.
topic? So when this occurs with the DNA teleportation, are we able to help each other with maybe if someone is sick and let's say another person is well, can they then transfer a DNA through sovereignty, of course, of both individuals, but are these things possible to help heal or to help increase love or to help multitude of things. Can bodies do that? Because we are made up of water.
Yes, you're already doing that, but it has not been in a positive way.
Right.
Wellness is also variable. What is often helpful is to be understanding that they are also perfect, and by what we mean by perfect is free flowing templates that are available of the healthfulness of an organ, of the healthfulness of a particular system, of the healthfulness of a beingness as a whole, of a helpfulness of a love frequency, of a helpfulness of any frequency that you think of. And using these templates are quite a lot more helpful. And when you do that, you're able to do exactly what you're saying, but you're using consciousness to imprint that. Yes. You can also do it for one another, but it is important to have an understanding of where are you particularly in your experience of, for example, love. Yes, your love frequency. Where are you in your particular, let's say, your liver? How healthy is your liver, in fact? Yes, if you're thinking, oh yes, it is quite well, and you're using as the imprint for another person's who is not quite well, but perhaps you aren't quite well.
Yeah,
yes.
Right.
So there's many of these things to be discussing, but this is where you have access. All beings have access to the perfect template. Again, perfect meaning the flowing of the energetics, yes? And using that can be quite helpful. There's many people that are asking, well, how may I do that? How would I be doing that? What you would be doing is you simply sit, and you can just, we like to have the hands on the heart because it's such a anchoring position, and it is such a centering position. It also creates a lot of flow in for your soul, your consciousness, to be quite clear that, oh, I'm coming into myself right now for this moment. Yes, and it helps to augment what you are doing. And so when you put your hands on your chest and your heart way, what you are going to be doing is you're tuning into, may I see, yes, may I see, may I have presented in front of me the perfect template of healthfulness of my liver, yes, of my liver and my gallbladder. May I see that, and may that now imprint onto my cells, if that's so that they may be healthy, yes. And you do this over and over again. You can do this for anything, yes. You can do this for absolutely anything. It's quite an important thing that you are having access to. And when you're doing this on the regular, then you what you are exuding out naturally. So what you're asking is, can you do it intentionally? Yes, of course. But when we're doing it intentionally, we would like to be using the highest vibrational frequency,
Yes.
which is in this case the templates. But when you're just walking in the world, the way that you walk in your healthfulness, and in all aspects, meaning in your emotional aspect, your spiritual aspect, your mental aspect, your physical aspect, all the aspects, your cellular structure is emitting a frequency to other people, yes? And there then can match your frequency or not. And this is what we're talking about. This isn't just frequency in terms of, oh, how they're feeling. It is also a physical thing as well, yes?
Thank you. That was really good. Okay, last topic to just touch on is that you had talked about March in our year ahead, and we're going into March, and I'd like for you to talk a little bit about it. Something about light changing, Alexis was bringing up to me, but I'm not sure on the details or specifics.
Yes, it's having to do with frequency changes on the earth. As the frequency changes, you think about spectrum of light, the way that the individual is able to see and perceive. Yes, sounds will also begin to change, because a human vessel, as the energetic changes are occurring, will have a heightened ability to see beyond the current previous spectrum of light. Yes, and so it seems as though the light is changing, but really what is happening is the human vessel is altering and being able to see it, because its vibrational frequency is increasing across the board for most beings. Yes.
Okay, I like it.
What we'd like to be saying is it is working. Yes.
Yeah, that's good. All right, before we go into audience participation with their questions, is there anything else that you would like to add into our topics or discussion, or anything we might need to know?
Oh, it is quite lovely for you each to be here, and it is very important that the messages that you are receiving today, both what we spoke about just before and also what you will be individually speaking and experiencing, that you share this. It is quite important that we quite appreciate you sharing this, but it isn't just sharing it for us, you're sharing it for one another. It's quite important to be doing that. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
I like that. All righty. Okay, let's see who would like to go first on questions. Anybody feel like they would like to volunteer first? We could just go around the room. Yeah?
I'll go.
Yeah, Tina. Okay, go.
Hello, Simon. Today I would like a general question, please.
Okay.
General message.
Yes. Yes, where you have an awareness of where you're going is not in fact where you are going. So we would like to be inviting you to be widening the scope, yes? So that you do not narrow it, widen it even further, and then widen it again. This could be quite helpful for you. And this is not to be disappointed in any way. This is to be quite excited that it is beyond what you even could be thinking, yes?
Okay.
There are also, we would like to be inviting you to be balancing the energetics within your family structure, yes? And what you can do is you have an access to the Reiki energy, whichever energies you have access to, you're using those. For those of you who are hearing this and would like to be doing a balancing as we will be instructing her now, you can use the energy of the sun. If you have, if you are an expansion principle practitioner, you can access that. You can also listen to the different transmissions that are available for the expansion principle to use. As you just tune into it and you allow it to do what it needs to be doing. But you have whatever energy you have access to, you allow it to be going from one individual to the next, and you are imagining a balancing, a figure eight. This is the way you balance your brain energies as well, but you're going to be balancing the energies of your partnership, but also the family. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. That is a completion. If there is nothing further.
Do you have any more questions, Tina, for that, or?
Actually, yes, Simon, in regards to my family, is there any tips you could give me to help my husband get on board with raising his vibration?
Yes, this is why we were helping you to wanting to be balancing the energetics, yes? When you are balancing them, this is quite a helpful thing, yes? And particularly the reason why it is so helpful within a partnership, the way that we are explaining to do this, is that you are introducing your vibration. If you're listening to the questions that Andy asked and the answers that we were giving, we know that it is quite possible for another individual to be influenced by the energetics. Again, honoring his sovereignty is quite important for you. The more that you honor his sovereignty, the more he can become curious, yes?
Yes.
Yes, and do know that you are exuding particular healing frequencies due to many of the positive choices that you have been making, and this can be a bit disturbing to the energy fields of others, yes? Because it is causing him to change in a way that is uncomfortable, yes? But you must also remember that it is sovereign choice to be with you, yes?
Yes.
Yes, and so trusting that and doing the things that we have instructed you to be doing with the balancing of the energies will be quite helpful. And please knowing that honoring his sovereignty is most important, yes? He gets to be whom he is and express in the way that he would like to be expressing, yes?
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Would you like any further, Tina?
I'm good for now.
Yeah. All right. Simon, does that feel complete?
For the moment, yes, there's quite a lot that we could be speaking to, but that is where we will be continuing now.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, Sherry.
I have a question regarding the moon. With our recent landing of a robotic spacecraft, I'm concerned about the intent that exists. And my question is, will powerful countries and big, powerful companies who want to create commercial endeavors on the surface of the moon, will it eventually have a detrimental effect on the rest of humankind?
Oh, good question.
Yes, just a moment. Yes, an aspect of the energetic changes that are occurring is that there are residual previous energies, yes, and that of control and many of the things we spoke about to begin with, having to do with human beings feeling that they are top of a hierarchy. This is that choice, and those sorts of things were done from the previous energies, yes. They are not well supported to be continuing, yes. And what that is meaning is that if humanity as a whole is vibrationally is changing and shifting, yes, it is quite important not to be worrying about such things. It won't be an issue. Yes. It is quite natural and normal to be asking questions about these things, and also to be knowing that the vibrational shifts in a positive way are quite important to be anchoring into. Yes.
So, from my perception of what you just said, Simon, does that mean the answer to that question will be no, it won't have a detrimental effect because there's not enough energy from others to support that endeavor? Is that what you were saying?
It does not have to do with the energy of others. It simply is, the answer is that no, it will not have a detrimental effect.
Okay.
But there's very many reasons. It isn't about the energy of others, it's the energy of the planet. Yes, this is different than individuals. The way that you're asking the question is specifically around individuals, yes?
Yeah, it's the efforts that from other people that we have no control over, and so, because the moon is such a prominent and necessary orbital thing that we all depend on down here on Earth, the humans that are putting things up there, will they kind of change things for us? That's what I'm worried about.
Yes, and what we are saying is that it is quite important for you to stop worrying.
Stop worrying.
Stop worrying.
It is quite critical to do that, because occasions as the one you're describing are merely distractions to do precisely what it is that you are doing. And you are complying with what they are asking you to do, which is to worry about things that you do not need to be worrying about. Yes?
Okay.
And when you see things, whenever you see something, and this does not mean you do not help people, because it is quite beautiful and important and sovereign to do so, but it is quite important to be curious about what you're being presented with, and it is producing the precise reaction that was desired, which is one of ill content, and one of worry, and one of disillusion of trust in what is actually happening, and that the vibratory changes are in fact occurring, and it is quite a distraction to be thinking otherwise, yes?
Okay.
Yes.
I do have a second question, if you don't mind. It's on a more personal level.
Yes.
I want to know if, and I hope I pronounce this properly, the Awen symbol, AWEN, if that has something to do with a number that's been repeatedly presented to me.
Yes.
So, yes.
Yes, she is asking if it is.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Confirmation. Do you want further on that?
No.
Yeah?
It's just that there was a kind of like an unresolved
Uh-huh.
something that came up, and I just thought I need to ask.
Okay,
Thank you,
cool.
thank you, Simon.
That's awesome. All right, you feel complete, Sherry?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Angel.
Hi Simon, it's nice to meet you. Thank you for joining us. Just general information you would have for me.
Oh, yes. Yes, there's quite a lot. Thank you for being here. It's quite a lovely thing to be having you here. There's the little girl at age 7 is ready to be healing, yes, in a higher degree. There's also very many ages, 13, 21, 37. These are all very important, yes, to be having a significant reintegration, yes?
Yes.
Yes, you have felt quite disintegrated, yes? Yes, it is time for having an integration, yes? It's quite important to be having an integration. May we assist you with this at this time?
Yeah.
Yes.
So what that would mean is that they'll do a transmission for you. You just have to sit there and just, do nothing.
Is that quite all right?
Yes.
Yes, thank you for explaining quite well.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, we would like for you to be taking a breath, yes? And when we're doing this, anyone else who would like to be having a more flow and more integration of self, yes? But we will be focusing on Angel at the moment, yes? And what we're doing is we're allowing for there to be healing on each age level, yes? Each age level, and then connecting the dots to them together so that they may all be part of one another. They were segmented out for safety mechanisms, and now they can come back in together so that you can have a more flow with your mind way, so that you aren't having very many different fractured mind ways, yes?
Yeah.
You may take a deep breath now, please. Yes, yes, that is quite important, yes, yes. So now what we would like to be advising you to be doing is allowing yourself to understand, I am whole. All of my selves are together. Yes? Yes. Yes, do you have any questions regarding that?
No, thank you.
Yes. Is it quite clear what we have been saying?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. You may be continuing. Yes.
Okay. Do you feel complete, Angel, then? Yeah?
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
All right. Who would feel like they would like to ask a question next? I feel like maybe you. Do you feel, would you like a question? I don't know, suddenly it just felt like you.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, Simon, this is very unexpected to walk into the shop right now, so I'm happy to be here, and it's nice to hear you talk. I've just been recently trying to recognize really old patterns that have been resurfacing and playing a big part in my life, and trying to figure out how to shift these areas of my life. And I didn't know if you had any practical advice or communication that could help me with that.
Yes, this is something that is happening to a number of individuals who have significant messages. Everyone on the planet, every human being that is incarnated is significant in some way. Yes, it is important to be saying that first, that everyone, the way that you share, the way that you show up, the way that you express is important. And also there are individuals who have chosen and who have said yes to a calling of being able to be more visible and sharing in a greater level. Yes, and that is what we are speaking about at this time. Those individuals are having a lot of patterning that is coming forward. Many of the things that you believed you had healed within the last several weeks are coming forward as if it had not been. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it's quite a confusing thing. Yes, this has been occurring to Alexis as well. It's an uncomfortable thing for her. Yes, there are a variety of reasons for this happening, but most importantly, we must be saying that it is not a permanent thing.
Okay.
Yes. And what you need to be doing is anchoring into the original healing of the pattern.
Okay.
Do you understand how to be doing that?
No.
Yes.
No.
You again, we like to be encouraging you to be putting your hands on your heart. Yes.
Okay.
And so you are doing that, and you're tapping into, I would like to remember when I changed this pattern the first time. I'd like to be remembering how I reoriented this the first time. I remember and I feel it. I feel it in myself, and I feel it in my soul, and I feel it in every cell that I have. I know what this is. I know how it presents itself, and I know that I can sovereignly choose for it to be different. Yes? I also am releasing any detrimental impacts of repositioning this pattern in front of me, so that I may not notice that is an interference pattern, but it is in fact one, and I am now releasing that, and I am claiming my sovereignty fully. Yes? Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. We would also like to be saying in closing is think of, when you think, oh, how did I let this happen? Think of all the times in the many years before where you did not have an awareness of the pattern. Yes. And it simply was playing out. You now know. Yes. Yes, this is quite an encouraging, wonderful thing. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do you have another or further questions?
No.
Feel good?
Yeah, that's a lot to sit with. Thank
Yeah,
you.
That's awesome. Are we complete, Simon?
Yes, we will be continuing.
Okay, awesome. Susie, would you like to go?
Sure. Hi, Simon. My question is about how to be more aware of the person that I want to be and not to be, because it seems that the driving force at the moment is the fear of the person I don't want to be, more than tuning into what I would like to be.
Yes, a very simple and primary task for anyone who is liking to be tuning into something is to be focusing on what you would be liking. Yes. When you focus on something, you focus on it. So what would you like to be focusing on? The thing that you do not want to be, or the thing that you want to be? It's if you are in your kitchen thinking about making something, and you think about, oh, I hope this is not awful. I hope this is not terrible. Oh, this better not be terrible. Oh, I wonder, I hope it's not terrible. Instead of thinking, oh, this will be so lovely and wonderful. Oh, how delicious this will be. Oh, how much love the individuals will feel when they eat this. And at the completion, one would say that both things are the same intent, yes? But it is not. And so what occurs with the focus of wanting to make sure, oh, this better not be terrible, what in fact happens is that it is what? Yes. Is this a clearing for you?
Yes.
So you're asking how because you like those instructions of how, yes? And you do it by doing precisely a different way of what you are doing, which is focusing on what you in fact are moving towards and trusting that that movement towards will eliminate the opportunity for the other thing of coming through, yes?
Mm.
This is most important, that you're trusting what you're moving towards, yes?
That was helpful.
Yes, if you're driving to your home, you wouldn't be worrying about driving to Grants Pass, yes? Oh, I hope I don't end up there. That would be an odd sort of thing, yes?
How did that happen?
Yes.
Like, do you want to ask more, or you feel complete?
Just one general.
Yeah,
If
general.
there's
Okay.
anything.
That is what you must be focusing on, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's quite important for you. It's a simple but a quite large thing. And you must be remembering that by doing that, your little beings that look at you, they're also learning this, yes, with you. And the more that you exemplify what I am moving towards, yes? Yes. And it is not about being a good little girl. It is about what is the most expansive experience of myself. Yes? We do not do beautiful things for one another and good things and helpful things and loving things simply to be the good little girl or the good little boy or the good little being, yes? We do it precisely because it is the most expansive, most loving, most sovereign thing, yes? Without any particular outcome, simply because it is what is most correctness and most aligned with consciousness that you are, yes?
Sounds good. Thank you.
That's really good. All right. Feel complete, Susie? Yeah, and Simon? Okay. All right. I'm feeling like you might be next. Do you feel like you'd like to go? Yeah?
Sure.
Okay. All righty. Michael is next. What would you like to ask?
Is there a general message for me?
Yes. There's a particular area of your life that you would like to be asking about, yes?
Yeah.
Calls you out, huh?
Yeah. Love.
Yes.
Yeah.
Would you like us to be speaking to that?
Yes, please.
It is most important to know that there is a template of your partner. What we are meaning by this is that you have felt for quite a long time the energy of what that being will be, yes?
Mm-hmm.
You have allowed for that to fall away a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so you accept love that is not matched with that template. And then you wonder why you're not having what you'd like to be having.
Mm.
You have your template for a reason. It is quite important to be allowing that to strengthen, to honoring it, yes, and to honoring the exchanges and what you have to offer, yes? Not just this lovely, wonderful partner, but that partner is also wishing and hoping for you. Yes? Do you feel that? We would like for you to be feeling that.
Yeah.
That they are longing for you, yes?
Yes.
Yes. So would you like to be opening yourself to that experience?
Oh, yes.
Yes, and so it is most important to be tuning into that and that matching and that magnetic, but it is most important for you to be clear and not to be letting down on those, what you would be calling as standards.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and you
Yeah.
sometimes do that.
I
Yes.
do.
It is most important that you don't need to let them down in order to be loved, yes? It is actually quite important for you to keep them so that you can be a match for the love, yes?
Yeah.
And the being is quite lovely. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Do you have some further questions with that?
No, that's great.
Is that
Thank
good?
you.
Okay. That's awesome.
That's
All right.
beautiful.
It was beautiful. It's such a good reminder for all of us, right? Do you have further things for Michael, Simon, or are you feeling good?
That is a completion at this time.
Okay. All right, Beth, what you think? You want to go?
Sure.
All right.
Sure. Hi, Simon. It's nice to be with you again. I think today I'm just looking for any general message that you might have for me.
Yes, we would be like to be inviting you into adventure. You have created quite a lot of space for yourself, and you thought it was for stillness, and what it is in fact for is a great adventure. A great
That's
Really?
amazing.
Light up.
I like it.
It is a great adventure to know whom you actually are, yes?
Sure.
It's a great adventure to be able to express it most fully without being feeling as though you need to hold back. To not have anything telling you what you need to be or not be, yes? To simply be yourself, what an incredible adventure.
Yeah.
Yes, you do not need to be anywhere at a certain time. You do not need to do anything at a certain way. You simply need to be yourself in a way that you've never been yourself. And what a great adventure.
For sure. Yeah.
Yes, happy travels.
So exciting.
Yes, it is.
Do you want to ask some questions about that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a follow-up.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, am I off to a good start? Am I opening up the space in the right way?
Are you off to a good start?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, it is quite a lovely thing. It is beautiful, and it makes us most joyful in many ways that individuals come to us often with the answers that they know that they have, and they ask us the questions to be confirming, and this is such a normal human thing to be doing, yes? And we're quite pleased to be reflecting it back to you, but it is your answer, yes?
Yeah, sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
that you are quite to a lovely start, yes?
Thank you.
There is a particular symbol that will be presenting itself. Yes, it has already presented to yourself.
Oh.
A symbol that presents itself when you're quite right on track of that adventure, yes. You will begin to become more and more aware of that symbol, and it will become a quite an important thing for you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Simon.
Like it. Do you want to ask some more? Are you feeling this?
That feels good.
I feel. Can we come along?
Yes.
We want to hitch up to Beth here, yeah. All
Thank
right.
you.
Yeah, you bet. Okay, so I think it's Jennifer, right?
Jennifer, yes.
Yeah, do you feel like you'd like to go?
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. You know what? Hi, Simon. Glad to be here. I'm very excited about everything that you said to everybody. I will have just what you thinking about me.
We are thinking that it is quite correct time to release the sadness, yes? You don't need to carry that backpack. It's a bit outdated, yes? You keep stitching up the bottom of it and putting more rocks in it to carry it. And it isn't quite necessary to be doing that, yes?
How would one do that?
You simply take it off. It is broken in any case. Yes. And what we're meaning precisely is very often it is this idea that there is something called joy that is accessible to you. Yes. There is a thing. Oh, what we really love, we love to be inviting individuals who feel this way to the sun. Yes? Because the sun is quite clear what it does and what it exists to be and what it shows individuals. Yes. Even when it is clouded, even when it is night, the sun always exists. It still shines regardless of whether you can see it or not. Yes.
Yes.
Meaning joy is very much like that. So even when you feel that sadness and your mind tells you all these awful things, you're able to tune into what is actually true. Yes.
Yes.
And what is actually true is what a lovely thing this life, yes? even when it is difficult. Yes, you're merely coming to express yourself, and what a joyfulness of your soul has chosen to express itself on this planet, and the interactions that you are. And something that's quite important for you to be knowing is that you think about all the lovely people you meet and how they impact you. Yes,
Yes.
but you don't always realize, you most often do not realize, that you are also on the list of lovely people for others.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is important for you to be knowing. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Simon, can I ask another question?
Yes.
What am I so sad over?
Yes, it has been there a very long time. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. It is a sadness you carried with you. You brought it into this experience.
I've had it for lifetimes,
Yes, you have.
and so it feels like it too.
Yes.
And so I can let it go.
It is. It is. You can. You can, and you can because primarily the reason that you are sad, that iteration of yourself is no longer empty. It has everything that it longed for because in the non-physical it is able to have that. Yet you have been imprinted with this idea of the longing, yes, of this emptiness. But it is now resolved, yes.
Okay. Thank you very, very much.
Yes. And when you need further messages, you tune into the sun. Think, oh sun, let me see what it is to be happy.
Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Any further questions for you?
So many.
Yeah, I know, right? Right. If we
Many.
just had all day,
I
right?
just want to say again, great gratitude. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Simon, do we feel complete?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I think we just got Rebecca, right? No, I've got everybody else. Yeah, I wanted to end with you for some reason. I feel like whatever you got.
Don't end with
I know, but it's funny because in my mind I'm like, she needs to be our ending. I don't know why. All right, unfortunately you are, but it's the best.
Yeah. I just not going with that and stuff. And so much in life we see so much pain throughout the planet, but we all have felt joy too, and that ebb and flow. What is it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is being human, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's very many reasons for that. A particular aspect is the physicality, yes. And the vibrational frequency of the human beings is one such that it is perceives itself to be physical, yes. It also has to do with the mechanisms of the human form, having to do with what we spoke about earlier, having to do with the way that emotions are processed, but also within the biological mechanism of the being. Yes. It also has to do with mechanisms of control, having to do with sovereign violations as well. That there's a manipulation specifically around being able to harvest. This can be a bit complicated sometimes, but we encourage you to either take it or not. If it is not a resonant to you, that to not take it. But we would let you are asking, so we are telling you, yes. So it has to do with emotional energy is quite potent, yes, and it is quite useful. And this has to do with why there have been very many societal influences across very many millennia to influence greater potency of lower vibrational emotions, yes. But it is also important to be understanding that this has been changing quite a bit, yes, and it doesn't need to be in that way. One of the most simplest ways to be expressing and to be understanding is there is a thought by very many beings that it is only able to be moving forward into, just a moment, to be moving forward, just a moment.
Those tiny ones, I have to go with those. Like every day you actually found one and
Does anyone actually pay to get one of this?
To be able to
The
move
big crystal?
forward,
I think
just a
what
moment.
would actually pay like $500 for it. Dang.
What you're asking, this final part of it, you were wanting to know the way to move forward, yes?
Yes.
Yes, and what we would like to be telling you with the way to move forward is that the energetics are changing. and this is quite important. The question has always been about whether or not you need difficulty to grow and to expand. And now human beings will be able to answer the question, to be able to know that expansion is possible amongst joy as well. And the binary, this is an important aspect that we have not answered yet, that human beings operate in a binary having to do with the way in which the physicality performs itself and the way the biological mechanisms are as well, yes? And we can see very much around us that has been shifting away, yes? It has been dissolving because it isn't necessary. And in that, there is more evolutionary process, there is more expansion available, yes?
If it's not binary, what is it?
It is everything, yes? Their human beings are highly organized, and what we mean by highly organized is that it requires a high organization in order to be physical, yes? If you think about the human form, it is highly organized, yes? Otherwise you would have your organs all over the place, yes? It has a particular way of being, yes? This is this, and that is that, yes? And what is possible is much more fluid than that, yes? There's a bit of this still that is working itself with you, yes? Is there an additional question that you have as well?
Just general.
Questions having to do with what we just said, and then we will answer the general, yes?
Yeah. Do you have any other further questions on the pain on the planet part?
Just that we are transcending it.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
in fact, yes. Isn't it such an interesting thing that could be possible, yes? And an aspect of why is because what we spoke about in the very beginning, both Alexis spoke about and we have spoken about, is the sovereignty aspect of it all. The more that sovereignty is activated, the less pain that there is, yes?
And then do you have a further general for Rebecca at all?
Yes. Yes, it is important for you to be having a period of integration for yourself. All of the things that you have been learning and all the things that you have been desiring to become have been recently transmuting themselves, yes? Into a different desire, yes? And it is still percolating itself. You aren't quite sure what it is yet, yes? Yes, allowing yourself integration of all of those pieces, allowing all the integration of all the pieces, yes? So that it can move forward, you can follow that pathway. Yes, it isn't necessary to figure it out in the mind way, but it is necessary to allow for all of the pieces to be integrated. What if they're all connected to one another? Yes. Yes, that is the completion.
Okay. Further questions for you, Rebecca, or does that feel good?
That feels good.
Feels good. Okay. Okay, Simon, that concludes all the questions for the group today. Do you have a final message for us before we conclude?
Yes, we would like for all of you to be continuing. Yes, this is quite important. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And welcome back.
I'm thirsty. Hi.
Do you need it?
I think I'm okay.
Yeah, you're okay. Yeah. With your eyes being closed that long, right?
Yeah, it's odd.
Right. Oh my goodness.
So, hello.
Hi.
I'm
Yeah.
Alexis. I'm Karen.
I'm Karen. Okay, good. Yeah, I couldn't get your name when we were doing everything. All right.
So in this last part, we like to check in if anybody has any thoughts or things you want to ask us now, or any connections, or just want to riff on what came up for you.
Well, I have a concern, I guess, more than anything. When I asked Simon about the moon and the possibility of the activities that are happening on it could possibly down the road cause some adverse effects for the rest of us. He said not to worry about it. I shouldn't be isolating my focus on that. So getting back to what you've shared with some of the others, that it really does have to do with our focus and what we're putting our attention on, right? As whereas how we're growing and how we're advancing, and even though some other individual might have an impact that affects us, I'm not to be worried or concerned about it.
Because you're giving your power away. When you do that, you're giving your power away to what
That's exactly
the
what she
focus
said.
is. Yeah, you're giving your power to the the problem where these group of people might be doing something, but the way we win is when we choose sovereignty, and the way we win is when we are intentional about what we're doing, because that's putting the right energy out.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I
Sorry.
gathered.
Hope that was okay to
from
jump in on
that.
that.
Off always.
Okay.
So, but
Yeah.
that's what you, in the ballpark of what
Yes.
you were trying to convey to me, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go
I
back to
thought I
it.
got the
Travel.
message, but
Thoughts can travel.
yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you were taught to think the way that you think, right? And the patterns, like you brought up this concept of patterns, and it's that is recognizing that the worrying is a pattern that you were taught. It's not necessarily your natural
yeah.
way of being. Although now you may think, oh, I'm this years old and this is just the way it is, and it isn't necessarily that worry is a pattern. And it's a pattern that was taught societally and a little bit to control, because if we teach people to worry, what do? They focus on whether the dinner's going to come out. It's going to come out bad. Oh, I hope it doesn't come out bad, right?
Which it goes
So
with
it's
a
that
lot of the
piece.
theme of quite a bit. Susie's message was that theme, and then there was another theme of I think it was Rebecca's message at the end about the giving up our being the emotions are the manipulation of emotional pain. Yeah, with Rebecca's end thing. That kind of goes with Sherry and several people actually today. Yeah. So when that happens and we give in to the worry, it's not helping to advance or expand or anything.
Yeah.
You're given into this path instead of this.
And when you recognize it, it's not to be like, oh, I'm being bad. No, it's like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I did that now. Where can I shift into? That's like the most important part is like, and you brought that up, I think for you, is like this concept of like being a bad, little boy or girl, or being, like it's not that at all. It's like, oh, just recognizing and shifting it, because even that is like a secondary, like a backup mechanism of putting you into like stagnation. Does that make sense? So like first is like, okay, you have to worry all the time, but then once you realize that it's not great to worry and you catch yourself worrying, then the backup thing is like, now you're gonna think you're bad that you're worrying, right? So it's still stagnating your energy. And so like that's the thing to really look at. It's like this multi-trap kind of thing where it's like, oh, and really what you're looking for is like, do I feel in this moment stagnant, or is my energy flowing? And it's okay to be in a moment where we're sad about something, and it's directly really okay. Like we have grief, we have all these things, and it's so beautiful and natural to feel all the spectrum of human emotions. The part of it that can be that is detrimental is being stuck in any one simply without any solution and just being there. And then what happens is that there's a stagnation, and the stagnation grows and it grows and it grows, and you can't move. And the natural state of things is to move and flow and expand. And you can't expand if you're stagnant. So it's like, does this thought around like worrying about that, does that feel expansive, or does it feel contractive? Does it feel like it's stagnant? Exactly. And a lot of people will say, well, that means you don't care about people. Like if you don't worry about all of the wars in the world. And while there's one in particular that's being talked about a lot, but I got news. There's a lot more than just one.
Yeah, there is.
There's a lot more than just any one single thing that's happening in the world. And part of it is, we live in a state where we are aware of all of it at the same time, where we didn't ever in all of history. It wasn't this fast. It would take a long time to know what was going on in other parts of the world. And sometimes we didn't ever know. And so there's so much. And so it's easy for it to focus on like all the awful things. And then that's contracted. Like it doesn't, you can't move forward when you're like that. Right?
Yeah, that makes me wonder that, so we know so much more about all the, like quote, bad stuff. Do you think, or Simon, or do you think, or any of you think that we're also expanding just as fast as like we're all this like the bad crab's coming into you?
I do. I feel, and I think that that's why it's so interesting that we're able to see all of it at once. It is distracting, and it makes us feel like we aren't progressing because it's so much louder.
Yes.
But I think that there's a mechanism of being able to move forward even more quickly simultaneously.
I think we're really being asked to hold a duality these days, which is extreme joy, extreme chaos, all these extremities. We're getting better and better at juggling the pieces, but you know.
And what are we allowing inside, right?
Exactly.
Like, what are we
Yeah.
allowing to be what? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I stopped watching the news like a month ago. I
Oh.
don't
Oh
even
my
watch a
gosh.
minute. I've always
Yeah.
been that person. It's like, oh, you have to know what's going on in the world, right? You have
Right.
no, you really don't. Because
Right.
it was making me physically ill.
Yeah.
And so now I don't watch, I don't want
Understandable.
to talk politics, I don't look at either.
Yeah.
I'm focused on,
Yeah.
my path and
Yeah.
my ascension and my family and my
Yes.
practice, and that's where all
Yes.
my energy is going, because all of this is just too murky for
And
me.
that's the biggest message Simon said over and over and over, and any of the schools of thought that I've kind of dug into have been that message, how we really can change things. It starts here,
Yeah.
and what are we doing? What are we allowing to input into our minds?
Instantly you go to a negative. Instantly you're like
Absolutely.
doomsday, like we're
Yep.
never gonna make it.
And then we're
not-
just
all
matching up
gonna
with
die.
this. Yeah.
It's just gross.
Yeah,
And so
because
I
you're going
refuse.
here and you're matching up with that.
And I learned
Right.
that I don't have the control to
Yeah.
just filter it,
Yeah.
so I'm done with it.
Right. Yeah. Well, if it's not making you grow
No,
forward,
it's not,
then
it's not here for my greatest good.
That's
so
right.
Yeah.
We were talking about in our group, and Susie, I think you're involved with this, was, what's your input coming in? And when it's negative, whether it's negative or positive, it needs to move through and have an output. And if you're just stuffing, whether it's the news or the things going around you, what are the choices that we're making as sovereign
We're
beings?
leaking negativity out.
Exactly.
And I wanna
Something
light.
has to, this has to move. This emotions have to come in and flow out, or else that's where our illnesses and our, all the stuff. Yeah, stuff. Yeah, so,
And understanding the energetics of all of that too,
Yeah.
because there are people who would hear us and be like, okay, so you don't care about
or a
insert the horrible
Pollyanna
thing.
kind of idea.
But yes, and also like the big thing around like it means you don't care. Again,
Right.
manipulation.
Yep.
And it is. But it isn't at all that we don't care about people. It's that there is an energetic impact on what we focus on. There's this is super important, and all of us in the whole world, we have different ways of expressing. There are people that it is really important to whom they are and how they express, to actually physically go to places where there's a lot of harm going on, and there's harm even be present in it. Where, and I don't mean a physical place, but wherever it is that you go, I do mean physical, but there's everywhere, right? There's some people who are at the front lines, like that's what they're here to do, and that if you're that person, and it's important to do that. And it doesn't mean you're incorrect or you don't care about people if you're not that person. That also the way that all of this work, like it is still impactful. This isn't like I want to have a high vibration and I don't care about the starving person. And right. It isn't that at all. It's we do care about that, and we mobilize ourselves in the ways that are appropriate to and correct for us to mobilize ourselves. It doesn't mean just like, oh, we don't care, we're just going to worry about us. Like that's not it at all. And what's interesting is that is an easy criticism that will again put us into this stagnation state by allowing for that criticism to be like true, like, oh, I guess I don't care. Yeah, you can care about people and not be the person that is delivering food directly to a person that's hungry. That knowing vibrationally this is really impactful and important. Like the vibration of things it really does matter,
like for the greater good. Like we can't all be on the front. Like if I'm evolving the way I'm supposed to and he's evolving the way he's supposed to, and we all are, it seems like you're saying that will ultimately be for the greater good.
Yeah, and you're going to tip
that's
a
how it
man's
seems.
consciousness over with that. That's the thing, because once we can get to
Yes.
that critical point, I always go back to the analogy of when you're in an airplane, and they always tell you, put the oxygen mask on you first. Then you can help, because we're all helpers and lovers, and we all want to have the world be a better place. So by us not doing certain choices of, let's say, news or whatever, you're right. It's not saying that we don't care, because we do. We just have a bigger impact, I think, that way.
Yeah, I'm a light worker, and I want to be a lighthouse for people, and
That's
that
right.
type of stuff dims my light.
That's
And
right.
So I just decided
That's right.
no more.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
Not even in small doses, because that one little dose I watch, that
Yeah.
10 minutes, I instantly
Yeah.
go, we're fucked.
Yeah.
It's easy to get there.
So it get there
It's so
quick
easy.
too, right?
I'm manifesting that we're fucked. So
and then you have to cancel your day of clients because you don't
Exactly.
feel well.
Exactly.
So those people that you could have helped,
Yep.
you can't.
Yep.
And I'm thinking of the children that we have at home too.
Yes.
We have our children. So if we're in an off mood because we think the world's just, then how are we raising them and helping them? And they're the next generations to carry this on. So there's so much that's dependent on a very micro level, but it's a very macro subject, right? Yeah.
In a way that it brings back the talk about the water and the resonance of that. It's like a water droplet that vibrates out, and in a way it's like if you're focused on clearing that your water droplet, the ripple and the collection at the end is like balances out.
Yeah, the water thing at the beginning is so good. If anybody has Gaia, is Regina Meredith? I think it's a Regina Meredith show. Open Minds?
Open Minds.
Is that right? Yep. And then she interviewed, and I cannot think of the person's name. But it was, it's water. You can go in and just type in, it was the last couple episodes. So it wouldn't be very far. Oh, I should have got her name before I didn't know we were going to talk about it.
We'll
so,
put it in the,
we can put it in comments. Yeah. But anyway, it's a great episode to watch. And if you don't have Gaia, if you know someone that does, you can share it for free and they get so much time to watch it.
Episode.
Yeah, you can share an episode. But the studies that they're doing on water right now, this gal is actually writing or talking, to the water and then freezing it. And the image is coming up of what, do you know about it? Of what
but there's something, go
ahead. Okay. So like if she said, like she played the Stairway to Heaven to the water, and then the water put the stairway pattern in, and they show pictures. And what's crazy is it's not like you go, I can kind of see a stairway.
You can see it
you see it very clearly. And she did it over a few. She's done like 10 years of experiments. Dr. Emoto, he was a lot with the water movement there for a while.
That's where I first
she's taken it to a different level. Is what she's done, because I studied Dr. Emoto's work too and loved it.
And he was the pioneer, and then she's now, the work she's doing is really amazing because his work was very much about like how water is responding to us and like the but he didn't really quite go to the consciousness piece of it, where she's really going to like, water's conscious, guys.
Yeah, it's responding.
It has memory.
She'll ask
an
a
ability
question and she'll get a response. It's fascinating, and anybody can do it. You can take water in a petri dish. She says mainly glass. Use glass. Say something to the water or write a word. So like she would write, I'm trying to think of some of the images.
Love, anything.
Love. And she would see a heart or some vibrational.
Thought about her mom too. Like
and her
really,
mom.
it was beautiful. But anything, and it was really fascinating.
They literally,
conception all kinds of things. And it's very clear.
Very clear. You can't.
What about the part when she took the seeds? So she'd take the seeds of like a sunflower seed, for example, and put the sunflower seed in the water. The water was actually making an image of what it would become,
which was a sunflower pattern.
So potentiality, right? So
much. It was like, what? It's
just
incredible.
blows up the way that most of us think this world is organized. Right. It just like blows it away.
Well, Alexis and I last night started a little further research into this, because they've mentioned a few scientists that have been trying to get this, work out, but the scientific community is shutting it down.
Yeah. Oh,
and they were saying, it's 100 years of now rethinking of what we've known with science. So now this would redo a lot of people's thinking to understand this. So it's pretty cool.
Has she done anything with salt water?
Yes.
Just out of curious, does she get the salt to leave the water by any chance? Has she done anything
She
like
actually
that?
talks about how minerals are they're helping the memory receptivity, like that water that has more mineral content, it is more coherent.
And it had the ancestral memories, because they talked about our oceans holding all of our.
That's what I'm kind of curious. That's what I was kind of curious about.
She talked about the oceans holding all our memories. They were talking about in amniotic fluid. They are feeling like we get our ancestral memories there, and that's kind of what
the amniotic fluid would hold that.
And then when we're born, that's part of our lineage.
It doesn't
process.
seem like she's had access yet,
but she hasn't had access, of course.
It's really tricky. I mean, you'd have to have somebody. I mean, it's tricky and it's not.
But
when it's correct, it'll work out for her.
But she did do the chicken eggs. She did take chicken eggs and did egg whites, and then she froze the egg whites to try to get this idea. And what was super interesting about that is, depending upon if the eggs were caged or if they were able to roam free. there was 2 different patternings that went on with the chicken that laid that egg. And it goes even further, is why I was talking about DNA teleportation, because she talks about she took the egg of the cage-free hen and put several eggs around the egg that was in a cage. So she put the cage in the middle, cage-free around it, let it sit for like so many hours, then took the egg whites out, then refroze them. And what they found was that the pattern of the cage-free lined up with the caged hen. The caged hen now, so it's like an entrainment process.
Wow.
So I was like, what? I know. And it makes you go back to, again, another thing with the DNA teleportation. If you guys start looking that up, you're going to go down a rabbit hole, is what I did. I was up so late last night going, this is fascinating. Because I'm like, so many scientists are trying to say this, and a lot of them are passing away, so they're trying to get the information to other people. Yeah, what was the question?
Is that why when people transplant like a kidney into somebody else, they'll say they'll wind up picking up their memories?
Yes.
Oh, that's a whole thing.
Yeah.
We have consciousness.
That's a whole another idea to
That
add to
goes
that.
into it, though.
Right, it
Ties
really
into it.
does.
When we were feeling that emotion, when we had some emotions come up, I could feel them in my eyes, and I was thinking that transfer of
Yes. Yeah.
Does that normally happen to you or no?
Well, yeah, I think all of us have, when somebody's feeling sad, we
Yeah.
all kind of
Yeah.
feel
It
that.
depends on the
Your
person,
eyes
for
are
sure.
so-
Yeah, but you do.
It depends on the person. I mean, we're in a group of
Yeah,
people that probably
that
more
do,
highly,
yeah.
but that really varies. Because I mean, I think most people who are like connected to themselves, we can empathize, right? Like, but not everyone actually feels it.
Their little line difference.
I do have a question about the DNA transfer and sovereignty, though. I'm curious, like the fact that there were multiple eggs that were free range and only one that was caged. Why would they, I guess, even sovereignly choose to resonate and?
Well, think back to kind of what we've been teaching the kids in group, right? You go back to frequency,
Right.
It's about the
right? You've got this
frequency
frequency,
and
and you've got your intention,
Mhm.
and what's the third word? I'm suddenly blanking out. We've been talking about it this week. Was frequency?
Coherence.
Was it no, it wasn't coherence. There was
I
3
wrote it
words,
down, too.
but yeah, it's all the frequency, because what they were talking about in these studies that they were doing is that the DNA strand that they put into the tube that I was talking about at the beginning, it emits an electromagnetic frequency, just like our heart field does, right? But they're saying DNA does it as well. So our heart field, for you guys who don't know this, your heart field, they say they can measure it, I don't know, what was it, 3 to 6 feet out around your body, right? But when they went to go measure it around your brain to see what the electromagnetic of your energy field was, it's maybe an inch. So everything is here. So many of us think everything's here, but really what's going on is if we start dropping down into our heart, this is where we should lead from, because it really goes out to infinity. I mean, this is why a mother who can feel that their child is in danger, and the child may be a few states away or on the other side of the world, but a mother knows that, right? But it's that heart connection, and the reason why the mother tunes into that so well is because that's a very important thing to you. It's a very important, not thing, but a being, a person, a soul, right? So when we're really intentionally focused, it's like tuning in your radio dial.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
So
caged chicken is stagnant.
yeah.
And those freer ones,
The
forward.
entrainment, it's that entrainment process, because it's like with crystals, you have crystals that are coherent in structure. Our bodies are not coherent. We're made up of atoms that bing around. We're in constant movement. So when we pick a crystal up, that causes coherence in our body. So when we're in coherence, we're in a good state. We're in a receptive state. Our bodies like it. That's why we like crystals. We like rocks. We like nature. So when you have, I'm going to think with the caged animal, the caged hen, and the other eggs, the reason why I think that would work is because I'm feeling like the one that's more connected with nature is in a more coherent state. The one that's caged is not. So the entrainment process is 2 energy bodies going, right? You've got an energy body of the caged hen. What the dominant structure, whoever brings coherence in, that's what's going to cause the entrainment to happen. That's why crystals work. That's why when you hold a crystal or when you come into Janny's and you're feeling good when you're in here, it's because there's a lot of coherency, so you feel it, and so you feel calmer, right? That's so it's not just woo woo. It's a statement of coherency, and nature in general is a lot like that.
I love that.
Yeah.
Last month before, I was at a beautiful sound bath up at Serendipity in Grants Pass. Wonderful. Samantha Hall, by the way, does great sound baths and sound healings. But she brought some Mount Shasta water, and she big block froze it. So you know that if you freeze hot water, it's clear. If you freeze cold water, it's cloudy. And so she brought in some cold frozen Shasta water. So it's a big cloudy block. And after her sound bowls, and we also do Reiki during the sound bath. So it's like a Reiki sound bath. And at the end, the big block of ice was completely clear. All the cloudiness went away just from that. The sound, it was next to her crystal drums and bowls. And so I just thought that was fascinating. I did not know all
It's
this.
the coherence.
So,
it's the coherence. So that's why crystal
Just
sound
in
baths.
1 hour time, this block just changed.
So
from
you've got
very
the
cloudy
consciousness in the water too, and
crystal
it,
clear.
it
Even when
makes
it's
complete
frozen,
sense.
I just
Yeah.
thought that was freaking amazing.
Yeah. I love it. Once you kind of understand those little things, you're like, oh, it's not just to believe it; it's like to know it.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard of the study they did with the metronomes, where they would set the metronomes up on a solid table, and they would at different times, and they would all stay separately, but you put them on like a platform together that wasn't anchored to the ground. That then they synced up, like they would all like start coherently clicking at the same time. Yeah.
We studied that actually with the kiddos that I teach.
Oh,
I brought in metronomes and did it. As a matter of fact, it's so cool to see, right? Because again, it gives you that idea of really tangible what coherence is, right? I love that. That's actually one of my favorite videos I ran across several years ago, right? I'm like, I have to do this at some point, and we did it, and it's really amazing to watch. And you're right, I set it up on I did a couple of empty bottled waters, but I'd be curious now that I've been doing all this water thing to put water and see. But it was something about the way they could message to each other, or even when you're in a group, if you guys notice and people are clapping, a lot of times you're not in coherence as a group when you first clap. But if you notice, if you go for a few minutes, it all sways, right? And that just shows us the potency of energy and frequency and electromagnetic.
Especially in groups.
Especially in groups. And it's so important because once we know this, then we can apply it to so many aspects in our lives. And then that's what changes the world. That's what it is. Yeah. It's inspiring.
Yeah, so cool. Thank you.
Always so awesome. I love it.
All right. Thank you, guys.